Guys, and welcome to your latest video on the Phoenix Club. And today we're going to be onto some Chelsea content, and we're going to talk about the Chelsea future of Callum Hudson-Odoi. This has been an issue that has been on the minds of so many Chelsea fans, and now he's been called up for England. There's been a lot more press attention on him, if there wasn't already. And a lot of business about any potential transfer movements in the summer and what his state of play is within Chelsea Football Club. So I'm going to try and go through what I think is going to happen, give a brief sort of context of what I think's happened, and what I think his stance actually is. And once we get to the end of the video, I'll give you my view on whether he's staying or if he's going. So, Hudson-Odoi, he's a Chelsea youth product. He's 18, and he's obviously highly talented, brought in to the first team a little bit under Antonio Conte last season, but his main sort of start was this season under Maurizio Sarri, with him being given some playtime in friendlies, etc., and also some playtime in the Europa League, which is great. But the main sort of fracas when it came to Hudson was in January, where Bayern Munich, it was reported Bayern Munich were interested in him. They placed a first bid of, I think, £27 million. They did a second bid about 4 or 5 days before the window closed of 30 million. And then their sporting director, I think Karl-Heinz Rummenigge, came out and confirmed their interest in Hudson-Odoi. Hudson-Odoi then apparently files a transfer request, and a 35 million bid is then put in, and again rejected, with Chelsea saying they would not sell him at least until the summer, with all this business. And on this, what I would make about this Bayern interest is, obviously he's a great player. Obviously he's going to be a great player. The club have seen that. Chelsea have seen that. And I think the player knows that. The player's parents told him to file the request from what has been said. And I think he knew he needed more game time, particularly watching Jadon Sancho rip apart the Bundesliga with Borussia Dortmund, getting into their team above, at times, Chelsea new boy Christian Pulisic. So Hudson, I think, for a large part, made a lot of this business because of watching Sancho, to an extent even possibly Marcus Rashford being given a route to the first team, and the fact that Chelsea have in the past struggled to give young players a route to the first team. However, Sarri, in response to this interest, has said that Hudson's going to get playtime, he's as good as Willian and Pedro, and initially, it looked promising. He played him the full game against Tottenham in the League Cup at Wembley. He brought him on after 60-odd minutes in the League Cup final, again against City. But he still hasn't started a Premiership game. And a lot of fans were getting on Sarri's back for this. I think people were perceiving Hudson to be getting impatient for this reason. But I actually think the fact that Sarri is throwing him in, either off the bench or starting, in important match occasions for the first time. For instance, he did it against Watford at 0-0 when Pedro got injured, and he did it against Wolves, 1-0 down, bringing on the young boy. And I think he's realising how valued he is by his manager and by Chelsea Football Club. And if anyone doubts that, about Sarri, for instance, and I think it's valid, some would say he hasn't played youth that much. There's a strong chance, as little as I want it, that Sarri will be at the club next season, and Hudson knows that any new manager will have to make him a part of his plans. So what's interesting is Hudson-Odoi, I think, is beginning to change his view. I've heard a lot from the press about how insiders at the club think he's going to sign. They've offered him, I think, a 70 grand a week deal. If for a player who's not started a Premiership game, that's not so bad for an 18-year-old as well. Obviously, the fact he's been given enough game time to warrant an England call-up is great for him. I'm sure he'll be overjoyed. And I think, honestly, the recent press interest in Dortmund, in Hudson-Odoi, apparently from Dortmund, but even more ludicrously, Man United, Liverpool, I think that's all made up, to be honest. I think Hudson-Odoi will sign a new deal, albeit he might wait the club out to get the best terms. But I think in recent months, the club have shown that Hudson is a part of their plans. Sarri has done his best. I mean, I've heard from people that at Napoli, he was much less willing to use youth products, even as much as he has used Hudson at Chelsea. Talking about the midfielder Verdi, who's been brought in by Ancelotti. I think perhaps even the goalkeeper, Alex Meret, but I don't want to be held to that. But Sarri is trying to adapt, and clearly Hudson is responding to it. He's been given starts in Europa League, given starts in League Cup, and I think now it's a position where he knows he won't get that much better at Bayern, that much better at even Dortmund. I think he would struggle with the number of talented wingers Dortmund have, and with Sancho now a seasoned first choice player. And also the fact that Hudson-Odoi needs time to develop. You know, what Zola says about 18-year-olds is not wrong. Look at, say, in Germany, and I want to sort of take out a little bit, but Real Madrid signed the Man City youth product, the Spanish guy, I think his name was Brahim Diaz, has hardly played for Madrid. Bayern signed Canadian youngster Alphonse Davies, hardly plays a minute. Yes, the Sancho stories happen, but they aren't as widespread as a lot of people like to say. The only comparable one is probably Vinicius Jr. at Madrid. But even that, I think under Zidane, he might get marginalised a little bit. So what's interesting is I think Hudson's feet are perhaps going back down to earth. His development is good, and I think he's seeing that now with his England call-up, his regular time in the Chelsea team. As much as I would want him to start Premiership games, perhaps at home to bottom-tier teams. But regardless, my gut instinct, and also from what I've heard, the gut instinct of those within Chelsea Football Club, is that he's 80 to 90% going to be signing a new contract at Chelsea, and it'll be a long-term deal, probably a 4 or 5 year deal. And I think this interest is being fabricated. I think he's probably withdrawn that transfer request now. And I think Chelsea for sure won't sell in the summer, knowing that obviously Hudson's developing, he's becoming a bigger player. And I think this interest from Bayern, he's going to realise that perhaps it's not all that it's cracked up to be. And Sancho, I'm really happy for Sancho. I think he's brilliant. But I don't think at Bayern he'd have the opportunity Sancho had at Dortmund. So anyway, I am convinced he's going to stay. I want to know your opinions on this though. Do comment. I will respond to any, particularly if they're sensible and have ideas I perhaps haven't mentioned. And like, subscribe, retweet my tweets with this video. All so much appreciated. Have a good Sunday, guys. Let's hope England can win tomorrow night. I'm actually off to the France game at the Stade de France, which will be incredible. Hoping to see a bit of Kante, Giroud for sure. Perhaps even Kurt Zouma, I think, is in there, which would be great to see. But regardless, I'm #ChoIn. I think he'll stay at the club. And I'm going to probably do a similar video on Hazard in the next couple of days. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day and see you very soon.